Ladies and gentlemen, on today's show, we interview the 15-year NBA player turned entrepreneur and now broadcaster for the NBA's Sacramento Kings, Mr. Doug Christie, about his time spent in the NBA while being coached by the NBA Hall of Fame and iconic basketball legend, Mr. Pat Riley. On to the show. How are you, sir?
I am doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Well, I am honored to have you on. I remember watching you on the court, my friend. You are a defensive specialist who could also score.
It works on flexibility, stability, and mobility. And then we have a third one. It's coming. It's not ready yet, but it's coming to market pretty soon. So the trilogy of them, with the rebar being the foundational piece of teaching people how to be efficient in motion, because ultimately, in my opinion, that's where sports is going. It's going to be and you see it with the Golden State Warriors. You saw it with our team, the team in any soccer team that you watch, whether it's Argentina, whoever your team is, the efficiency of the ball moving, the efficiency of motion of the players, and that's what the rebar does. So you got an aging population. This is the piece of equipment that's going to allow the aging population, as well as weekend warriors, elite athletes, to continue to do the things that they love to do on a day-to-day basis.
Where can we buy the rebar?
You can go to rebartraining.com and you can see it there. You can look us up on Instagram, Rebar Training, Twitter as well, and check us out. Rebar Training, and that's r3bartraining.com.
Now, Doug, one of our show sponsors, Mr. Wes Carter, he's an attorney who represents T.D. Jakes. His law firm represents T.D. Jakes, Joyce Myers. They've represented Pastor Craig Rochelle, a lot of ministry people, also big businesses. Wes has a tough question for, I'm sure, here. A nice softball for Mr. Doug here. So, Wes, what is your question? Wes meet Doug, Doug meet Wes.
Hey, Doug.
Hey, how are you, Wes?
I'm doing great. I'm curious, with our entrepreneurial kind of topics that we usually cover.
Yes. If I was playing today, I'd be a hot ticket, my friend.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Now that you've transitioned from athlete, announcer, what's been the biggest surprise or challenge as you try to bring a new product, a new baby out to market as you're, gearing up, marketing, bringing it to life? What's one of your bigger challenges or surprises you've encountered in the entrepreneur world?
Is the things that you think are going to work, and this is where I just talked about me listening to myself, and it doesn't matter what I think, it matters what the listeners think.
Yeah.
This similar with business is what you think is going to work doesn't really matter, because you're not the one that's buying the piece of equipment, or you're not buying the product. It matters what the people think, and you have to take yourself out of that, and a lot of times get out of your own way to find a modicum of success. And that's something that we are truly learning, on top of the fact of the financing of learning how to go out and get the type of money that you need to get to the level that you see yourself at. And as an athlete, you want that success quickly, because you've watched yourself and you've been at these levels, but you got to understand business is a little bit different.
Doug, there's a lot of media out there that talks about how a lot of NBA players, there's a lot of news that says NBA players go, this percentage of NBA players go bankrupt after play. And they, it's a big, but Wes, you represent small business owners.
Yeah.
And Forbes says 90% of small business owners go bankrupt.
Yeah.
So now you've achieved a lot of success throughout your career, but if you could kind of start off at the bottom or the very beginning, what was your childhood like growing up? And how did that impact your path to becoming? It's a sexy headline. 90% of NFL players go bankrupt. Or you know what I mean? It's easy to poke fun at the other guy, right? But talk to me about just the getting game checks, and how when you first got game checks, when you first started getting paid, what was that? How did you go through the process of financially managing things? And did you have a financial advisor, or what kind of people are there to help you in the NBA get adjusted to the financial situation of really knowing that, hey, I've got 3 to 5 years on average to make a bunch of money, and then I got to do something else that won't pay like this. What kind of advice or counseling is available for guys like you?
The NBA does a fantastic job now. When I first came into the NBA, they were just really tightening up that area. So a lot of mine, I didn't necessarily have that. Or sometimes what you see is guys get the bad advice, or they get around the wrong type of people. You might have, a financial advisor or someone else, but if you signed over all the rights to them cashing your checks and different things, you see the horror stories of guys losing a lot of money. And it's happened to some of the biggest players that have ever played in the NBA or professional sports. So you got to, first of all, get yourself around quality people, the right people. The home run isn't always what you're looking for. It's the ability to keep your money. You want to make money with it, but trying to always hit a home run isn't the way to go. And usually if you're hearing these quick get rich schemes and all those different things, well, you're already rich. What you want to do is you want to be wealthy now, and you have to figure out a way. So a lot of it is trust, but the NBA has some fantastic people now that are
the person you are today.
So I grew up in Seattle, Washington, and a single parent. I'm in place if you have advice, or if you want advice or different things like that. On top of the fact that now I think athletes are more or less learning how to use the leverage of while they're in the NBA. A lot of people want to be around them and different things, and a lot of doors are open for you. You just have to ask the right questions and be willing to listen and take time to look at your situation and try to better it the best that you can.
Now, Doug, how do you typically go about organizing those first 4 hours of your typical day? I mean, what time do you wake up every day now?
I wake up about 6 a.m. I start watching different shows, listening to radio and different things as, working out. And then I take my son to school. Sometimes I put my headphones in. I'll go hit some golf balls, just try to decompress. And then I start taking my notes and different things. So I have a radio show that I do daily from 3 to 7. And then whenever I'm not doing that, I'm always doing the Kings game. So like right now, I'm sitting in the garage getting ready to go in, jump on the radio, go from 3 to 5:30 Pacific time. Game starts at 7 o'clock. It just, before you know it, my day starts at 6, but before I know it, it's midnight.
Final question here, I want to respect your time here. Final question. What did your day typically look like in the NBA? Like during regular season NBA, it's a Monday. What time were you waking up, and what did that look like when you were in the league?
I always, I'm an early riser, so about 6, 7 o'clock right in there. If we have practice at 10, I'm getting there usually about 8 o'clock. I would get in the hot tub. I meet my father until I was almost 8 or 9 years old. And so I was a latchkey kid, which, you could get into a lot of trouble, and I did get into my fair share of trouble. Was rubbed. I lift weights, then I go out and I work on my own individual skill work. By then, Bobby's arriving. We're playing one-on-one. So by the time practice started, I'm in a full sweat. So whatever practice consisted of, I would finish that, and then I would go in reverse, and I'd start bringing everything down, usually in the night with a massage, Epsom salt and seaweed bath to get rid of all the toxins, try to hydrate, and get ready to watch some tape and start all over again.
Doug, I know there are a lot of people reaching out to you for your time, and I appreciate you and investing in our 500,000 listeners who are also honored for you to speak into their lives. Just thank you so much, my friend, and I appreciate you more than you could possibly know.
Absolutely. I hope to do it again. If we have more time, you guys want to, just let me know. I so appreciate the opportunity.
Hey, you take care, boss. Yes, Doug was an NBA player, and yes, he played in the NBA for 15 years. But since retiring from the game of basketball, he's gone on to become a successful announcer and a successful entrepreneur. And he has never done learning and never done applying himself. So I would ask you this today. In what area of your life are you not applying the focus or dedication needed to improve? Doug also schedules every hour of his day. My friend, it is so important that you are intentional about how you spend your time, where you spend your time, and who you spend your time with. So here's my action item for you today. Get out your day timer, get out your calendar, and schedule out your day. Design a life that you're going to love, or live a life that you don't like by default.
And then all of a sudden I found team sports. I started with soccer, and then
Now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom!
I mean, I remember some bills of $4,500 a month just to get leads that I was having to pay for, and that's only get a lead and a contact, to where now I'm paying you $1,700 a month, and I got 80 some leads last week alone. and I paid you $1,700. And to me, that was huge for my industry. That was one huge thing that just blew me away.
Okay, folks, money is a magnifier. That's what it is. Money's a magnifier. It's an amplifier. It just makes you more of who you already were. So as an example, if you're a complete jerk and you make a lot of money, you'll become a bigger jerk. And on today's show, we're interviewing a longtime client who's a really nice, kind, decent person. He doesn't claim to be perfect, nor do I think that he's perfect, but he's a guy that I use over and over and over. I utilize his services to plant trees and do landscaping for my family, for my business, because I really enjoy him as a person. I consider him to be a friend, and it's been awesome helping him magnify and grow his business. And without any further ado, we have the founder of Outside Inc., Paul Sullins. Welcome onto the Thrivetime Show. How are you, sir?
Doing good, Clay. Thank you for having me.
So, Paul, I got to ask you here, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm looking at your tracking sheet, which for anybody out there who's a client, we look at the tracking sheet. And last week you had 89 leads. So 89 people reached out to you to inquire about hiring you to do landscaping, pool maintenance, backyard work for them, outside remodeling kind of work.
My first team basketball was at 11. I played street basketball my whole life, but I finally got on a team because the community center across the street had burned down, and when they built it.
And then I'm looking at your tracking sheet like a year ago, and you were getting like 4 or 5 leads on a weekly basis. Can you maybe walk listeners through what it feels like to be on the receiving end of 89 inbound leads in 1 week?
It's a little scary, to be straight honest with you. It's awesome just to know that the amount of work up front that we put in is actually paying off. You see these people, you hear all these things, and you're like, hey, it's going to be there, and it's been kind of mind blowing to sit there and one of my office ladies comes in and goes, we've got 56 calls in one day right after a rainstorm. And to actually realize the work and the effort that we put in is actually coming to fruition. It's been amazing.
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up your website, and I'm going to showcase what you do so people can get a little context to know you're not a hologram. Outside Inc. Irrigation. Outside Inc. Irrigation is one of the websites. Also, folks, if you do a search on Google for Outside Inc. and the word Tulsa, you can find the website outsideinc.co. So 2 different websites there. And when you go to outsideinc.co, we look at the service you provide. It's French drains, it's landscaping. You do monthly home maintenance. If you look at the irrigation services, you guys are doing irrigation system repair and installation. So you're not the only guy in your market who's providing irrigation systems or French drains, but you're consistently getting a lot of leads. So I want to focus on the 4 aspects of business growth. There's a lot of them we can focus
back up. They put a team together, and from that point, it was no looking back. So I think it formed me in a lot of different ways. But
I want to focus on 4 today. The first is marketing. You've got to get reviews from happy customers. Every single week I harass you about this, and every week you show up with more. But these are actual customers that have actually done business with you. Can you talk about the importance, and I'll hit play, but I'll hit mute as I'm playing these. Can you talk about the importance of gathering objective video reviews from real customers each and every week? What kind of value has that made when you're even talking to prospective clients?
It's made a lot of difference. I mean, a lot of the phone calls, we'll sit there and go, hey, we're the highest rated, most reviewed company in Tulsa. We do all these things, and they're like, yeah, we know. We went to your website, and we saw the clients speak about what you had what you had done around their houses and how well you communicated with them, and that's how we decided to work with you guys. So it's just I've put on so many different client reviews and interviews on the webpage, and it's been completely different. Through some of your training and seeing some of your different videos from the business shows that you put on, Clay, I've noticed that we don't have to have the best looking and the most entertained TV produced videos. It's just getting videos of real people in their backyards, in their yards, and actually talking about you as a person and the products that we've done for them and how they've enjoyed it.
How often when you meet somebody, and again, we're focused just on marketing right now.
The city of Seattle is always, it's near and dear to my heart because coming out of there, and since then, so many different players have come out, and
when you meet with somebody, how often does the potential buyer reference the fact that they've watched a video review or have looked at examples of video reviews on your website as a percentage? Like, how often do they reference, yeah, I've seen some of the videos, or I've seen some testimonials?
Percentage wise, I would say at least 25 to maybe 50%.
Yeah.
I have a couple different sales guys, and I have some ladies answering the phones here. And I mean, I'm hearing it all the time. I've got an office right next to the lady answering the phone, and she goes, "Hey, how did you hear about us?" Well, we Googled you, and then it's like, "Oh, hey, this, this," and they were like, "Oh yeah, we saw it. We already looked at your website and saw all the views, all the video reviews you've done." So I mean, it's all the time. It might be more than that, but I would say in the neighborhood of 25 to 40%.
And again, if you're talking about marketing, folks, we're talking about marketing. It's VISM. There's other details, but everyone needs to remember this. VISM, video reviews, images, search engine content, more reviews. Let's hop on to images. You're constantly gathering images of your projects. So it's not an event. I think a lot of people think planting a garden is an event, and it's not an event. I think people think that getting married is an event. It's not an event. I think people think that raising a child is an event. It's not an event. It's a process. Every week you're gathering images, before and after images of projects you've done. How has that paid off? Just the consistency of adding before and after images of projects.
It's actually done it quite well. It gets my guys, number one, it helps my staff and us know that, number one,
they all give me love when I see them, because it was one of those things that it seemed like once one broke through, the dam kind of broke.
Because as the owner of the business, you can't be on every job. As you grow, it helps me know that the guys are doing what I'm wanting them to do in the field. My company is actually being portrayed the way I want it to be portrayed. But then also, people always look at a company and look at, we pull up in a nice fancy truck and they're like, oh, these guys, all they're going to do is the big fancy jobs. And not all our jobs are big and fancy. I mean, we talk and we work for the average Joe, the average person in the background. So when they're able to look on, and see some of these photos of it, just a little small French drain, or we poured a little 10 by 10 concrete patio, it actually helps us relate better to the clients and the customers in the field. I feel just having all those videos and pictures.
Just to be super clear, again, video reviews, got to get them every week. Images of projects. You do a great job with that. Search engine content. Our team handles the optimization, the ongoing updates on the website, so you don't have to mess with that. How much does that help knowing knowing that you don't have to go in to your website and figure out how to code and update a website every week?
There's no way I'd be where I'm at if I had to sit there and mess with that. Running a company, a lot of people always say starting your business is an easy thing. It's managing it and keeping on top of it. And these little details like this, I mean, we're in the age now, word of mouth is one way, but everybody's going to Google and going to your websites to see how to get hold of you. And that's the marketing we are in today, society.
We asked Doug what it's like to play with some of the NBA's best players, including Chris Webber, Mike Bibby, and Bobby Jackson. And on today's show, this former number 7.
And since then, we've had a lot of kids that have come out of Seattle.
Now, I understand while playing in Seattle, I believe you played for Coach Dave Denny at Mark Morris High School. How did he help you improve your game?
And I think that is super important to have that up and running. And when I don't have to mess with it, it has blown me away, because I mean, I got to deal with my employees. I got to deal with all this other stuff. And so it's just a huge peace of mind to know that that's just taken care of. I don't have to mess with it at all.
Now, so again, we go back to this VISM, and I think one way we learn is through repetition, video reviews, images, search engine content, the ongoing optimization of the website. We handle that for all of our clients. And then more reviews. We're never done getting reviews. And so right now, if somebody goes to Google and they do a search right now and they type in Tulsa tree planting, which is how I originally heard about you. I was looking to plant trees at one of my properties. I went to a church called Church on the Move, a really wonderful church. At the time was led by Pastor Willie George. and the trees looked incredible on the property. And so I kept asking people, who does the trees, who's doing the work? And I kept hearing your name. And that's how I first met you. And now today, when someone types in Tulsa tree planting, you come up top in the search results, 703 reviews. You're constantly getting video reviews, images, search engine content, more reviews. Let's talk about that for a second. How much has it helped you to have the most Google reviews, in addition to video, but the most Google reviews?
It gives you validity. I really think with people, I kind of tell this to people all the time, is like how I talk to my buddies of mine that own businesses or in any kind of a service industry, and I'm like, what do people do nowadays? They go to Google, they Google. They're Googling.
Aim and your overall mindset with his mentorship.
That's interesting. So when I finally met my dad, Coach Dave Denny,
French drains, they're Googling for this. They're Googling where to go eat. And if to be at the top of Google gives you the opportunity to actually talk to a client and to bid it. Now, we still have to go out and sell the job to the client, but it's been very important and very helpful to be able to be at the top to be able to get that. I don't know if I quite answered your question.
No, this is great. And you've got the 4 aspects of business I want to focus on today. Again, step 1, marketing and branding. We covered that. The web branding is just anything people see, the website, the print pieces, the logo, the auto wraps. We handle all that with you. We do a lot of that work behind the scenes. That's marketing and branding. The second step is sales. Sales is converting an ideal and likely lead or an ideal and likely buyer into an actual buyer. And I believe that a lot of times, and I've worked with companies in the past that helped me with my marketing when I was first starting DJConnection.com, and I would say, well, yeah, I'm getting a lot of leads, but I'm not selling anything. And they would say, we don't really help with that. We just focus on the marketing or just the branding I want to get your thoughts on the sales thing. You do a very good job of tracking. I won't share your tracking numbers on today's show, but you do a very good job of tracking. This is how many leads that came in. This is how many people bought. How has that helped you measuring and tracking your sales?
Number one, it helps me because as I've grown, I've got multiple salesmen that work with me. Number one, I'm able to see what my guys in the field are selling every week. And it also gives me time and to see.
Is in Longview, Washington, which is about 90 minutes away. Yeah. And I was telling you I was getting in trouble. So my mom sent me down there just for a year to live with my father. And before that,
or not time, but gives me the capabilities of looking and seeing how our ebbs and flows are in my business. Because I'm an outdoor service company. So in the springs and the falls, it's able to see when I need to gear up for employees, when I need to gear up and get guys ready for stuff, when our downtimes are. So, over the last 2 years, I'm able to go back and look at going, hey, January and February is going to be real slow. December. So I really need to start as a business owner in October, September and October, start pushing sales and start finding different ways to be able to get more business to keep my guys going so we can book out over that time. So if I wasn't able to track my sales, my leads coming in, the jobs were sold, I wouldn't know. You get so busy in your day in, day out, you don't focus on that stuff. And, me meeting with you every week as a business coach and able to sit there and look at that stuff every week, you get trained to be able to look at that stuff and be able to see stuff ahead as you're growing your business and not looking in the rearview mirror going, man, I wished I would have kept that going, or wished I would have known about that 6 months ago, because then I would have been able to adjust then to help us now. And now I'm sitting there going, hey, I got to make money to pay bills, and we got to get some jobs sold. And I'm working in the rearview mirror trying to get stuff closed that we should have been working on 3 to 4 months ago.
Now, most of the clients I work with, I charge clients a flat rate of $1,700 a month plus a small percentage of growth. And the idea is hopefully I'm the cheapest employee that you have. So you look at it and you go,
I was in Seattle, obviously, but to go to Coach Denny, he was big because I was a street basketball player. So I didn't.
Okay, I'm paying this guy $1,700 a month. Okay, hopefully I'm the least expensive person on the payroll, the least expensive line item. But over time, once we produce fruit, hopefully that small percentage of the growth makes it all worth it. And so that's the idea, is to achieve that true win-win. And so the third aspect of the business coaching I wanted to cover on today's show is management. So you look at a great project like this, you got to do marketing, branding, true. Step 2, you got to do sales. But 3, you got to manage. And I think that most people who are self-employed feel sort of isolated and annoyed. I feel like most self-employed people feel isolated and annoyed. They feel like, am I the only one seeing the level of jackassery that is often allowed in the American workplace today? And I have to work with all my wonderful clients to teach best practice management systems. And I think you do a fine job of that. That's something that you, in my opinion, is one of your strengths. You do a very good job of communicating the expectations directly to the client, and you manage those expectations. You tell the client, hey, Mr. Smith, hey, Miss Smith, we're going to have your pool, your pool remodel, or your pool fix, or your pool house fixed, or your outdoor siding project, your outdoor landscaping. We're going to have your retaining wall. We're going to have whatever the project is. We're going to have it done by this particular day. It's going to cost this amount of money. And you do a very good job of managing that relationship with the client and then managing those employees behind the scenes. Can you talk to us about the importance of just mastering management techniques?
Well, fundamentals weren't really part of my game. It was just instinctual, and I just played. And when I got to Longview, it's a smaller town. They have different ways, and the fundamentals, the jumps.
I don't know if anybody's ever a master. One of the things I've learned, and I've had clients over and over in my field sit there and go, man, when you said you were there, you were there. You were there every time you said you were going to be there. And you did what you said you were going to do. And that, number one, I like to be a man of my word. I mean, I like to be able to tell people when we're going to be there. I work in the outdoor industry. I mean, it rains. We're in Oklahoma, so you're going to have delays. But setting those expectations with the clients, number one, helps me for to be able to go, hey, it's rained. I can't get it. We've been delayed because of this. And setting those expectations up front makes for a happy end product with your clients. And just going through the process, say, hey, right, even when I sell the job, I'm like, hey, we're the highest rated, most reviewed, company in Tulsa right now. And here's the reason why. But that also comes with, we're really busy. We're not going to be able to get to you tomorrow. And the thing is, the people that can get to you tomorrow are probably not going to give you the best product. And setting those expectations with the clients up front, letting them know, hey, we're going to be a little behind. We're 6 weeks out, we're 8 weeks out, and letting that client know that, and then keeping them up to date. Then the client knows, hey, they just didn't take my deposit, or they just didn't take this and just disappeared. They know that, hey, we're coming down, we're there, we're still there, we're going to get it done. So I think that's one of the things that's helping really to set with your clients. And it makes it important to them.
Stops, the pivots, the different types of training and different stuff. So when I came back to Seattle, I had an extra gear.
I am at the end because they know, I mean, some of these jobs are an investment for their backyard. It's a lot of money for them on some of these projects. And it's just like, buying a house, you want to know that you're getting what you're paying for, and it's going to be there when you expect it to be there.
And we could share just hundreds of video testimonials or Google reviews. I'm just showing some examples here. But again, the final area I wanted to cover on today's show, again, I'm just making sure we're recapping. Marketing and branding, that's how you generate leads. Second step is sales. You convert ideal and likely buyers into sales. 3 is management. You have to manage the expectations. And then the final step is accounting and what I would classify as merit-based pay. At the end of the day, it's not how much money you make, it's how much you keep. And I just don't think that most people think about that when they're growing a business. And that's becoming an increasingly part of our ongoing conversations, is making sure that, because you're the kind of guy that quotes a customer a price and you hold yourself accountable to not changing your bid on the client. But that doesn't mean that subcontractors or employees won't try to change the game on you and all of a sudden drive up your expenses. So can you talk about that final step of just the accounting? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, when they look out for them, when they reach out for a business coach or a consultant, they don't think about the accounting. But I would argue, as we continue to grow Outside Inc., the accounting aspect of your business is becoming a bigger part.
I firmly agree. I just come out of a meeting talking about accounting and bills and what's coming in, fresh on my mind. And as you grow your business, one of the things I think, as you're young, you're just trying to get jobs done. You're just trying to get whatever you can go. But as you grow,
had extra things that some of the other players didn't have, and I could see now I'm adding street game to the fundamental game, and that's really what he gave me. And when I came back, my high school coach in Seattle was
it becomes a huge part. It becomes, I think, more than what most people think it's going to be. And getting, keeping the money and keeping the accounting, it's just like this last year, Clay, me and you had been talking about, doing merit based. Because I think if you pay people enough where they're comfortable, they stay there. They don't want to grow. As your business grows, you want to grow. You want to give them more money. Most people want more money. I think everybody would, not frown against getting some extra money. But as a business owner, you want your salesmen, you want your guys out there in the field wanting to be able to make more money. And if you just keep them on an hourly basis, there's no growth for them to perform better and to make more money. So this last year, I've switched my sales guys to 100% commission. I used to have them above base, and I put them over to commission. And the amount of calls of clients looking for their bids has got cut down in over half. He's selling more jobs by, I would say, 30 to 40%, maybe even more than that, since we've been tracking it. And it's made a huge thing. Because the thing is, if he doesn't sell, he doesn't get paid any money. And so, especially when you find people that are eager to make more money, they're going to sell more.
This is one thing I wanted to bring up, and I'll let you go here because I know you're a busy guy here. For anybody out there that doesn't know this, when I built my first company called DJConnection.com, after every event we did, I was obsessive about calling the bride after the wedding.
Williams, and I credit him because he was the first guy that I ever heard speak truth to power to my dream. I wanted to make it to the NBA, but
and asking them to leave us an objective review. Now, this is before Google was super relevant, so we had Wedding Wire and the Not.com and those kind of things, or we would get video testimonials on an old school video camera we had back in the day. We would archive them, and at a certain point, I remember I talked to a bride, and she said to me, "You have thousands of video testimonials." And I said, "Oh yeah, absolutely." And then now today, people go to thrivetimeshow.com, they click on testimonials. And I had a call I had just the other day with a wonderful man, and he was saying to me, "I was going through your testimonials, and I had to stop around like page 30 because I kept looking at the testimonials, and I realized there is really no end in sight. I mean, I'm looking at this, and there's like years after years after years of video testimonials." And I said, "Well, yeah, because we document that. It's a very important thing that we do." But I want to ask you this question. For anybody out there that's thinking about coming to one of our workshops or scheduling a free 13-point assessment with myself to go over how to grow their company, what would you say, or maybe what kind of impact do you think that business coaching with our program has made on your business?
It's been huge. One of the things I've loved, the problem is a lot of times with business owners is I feel, especially with me, we come from, for my instance, I call it W-2 employee status, working for somebody and said, "Hey, I'm going to go out here and start my own business." Well, I didn't go to business school. Nobody's told me the next steps, what I really need to focus on. Because as you grow this business, like, what is it? You can read 1,000 books. And what's made it,
I'd never heard anyone say it. And he was the first guy that I ever heard say, "You know what? You can make it to the NBA."
Well, the step 2 to get into the NBA was playing in college, and you went to Pepperdine.
Huge for me is to be able to come along, have you come along beside me and something go, "Hey, you need to focus on this, and this is why. You need to focus on this, and this is why." Because when we get down in what I call the trenches as a business owner, you're sitting there going, "Man, if all you do is focus on that, you can never focus on what you really need to do. You can't focus on your accounting and stuff like that." And it's been amazing. It's actually, I don't know how much it's grown my company so far in the last 2 years, but the peace of mind is unreal, because I'm not looking at my numbers at the moment, but it has been huge. It's just like, I used to have to pay, I think we were paying in the neighborhood of $4,000 a month just for leads. Just to get leads in now. 2 years ago, I mean, this time of the year, I remember some bills of $4,500 a month just to get leads that I was having to pay for, and that's only get a lead and a contact, to where now I'm paying you $1,700 a month, and I got 80 some leads last week alone, and I paid you $1,700. And to me, that was huge for my industry. That was one huge thing that just blew me away.
And I'll say this too. You are a client that's more private about your numbers. That just goes with your personality type. I have some of my clients are a little bit more flashy. They love to talk about their gross sales and their sales. But I can say this: I was looking at year over year. So you take the month of May when we're recording this, and you look at this week last year, and last week you had 8 leads. So last year, this week you had 8 leads, from what I can tell on the tracking sheet. And this week, you feel like your game was at a level where you thought, I could make it in the league. I mean, when did you, was it sophomore year, junior year? When did you feel like we had 89? So whatever that's worth for anybody out there. And again, we have some of our clients that like to talk about gross sales, and Paul keeps it more private, and that's totally fine. So I just encourage everybody out there, you can have a 10-fold increase in your number of leads, your amount of activity. You can do it, but you got to be a diligent doer. You can't just be a hearer of these words. You have to implement what you're learning. And Paul, I really appreciate you for making the Thrivetime Show World Headquarters look incredible. Thank you for the maintenance you provide. Thank you for the work you provide. And again, it's been awesome serving you. So again, thanks for your time today, sir.
Hey, thank you, Clay. Have a great day, bud.
Take care. Bye.
All right, bye.
I'm Glenn Shaw, owner of Shaw Homes in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Started the company in 1985. At that time, it was one employee doing everything, me. I met Aaron Antis in 2007. The top 3 things that Aaron did for Shaw Homes was he brought in processes that helped us be able to repeat over and over. He brought in unique hiring skills. He was able to find the right people for the right seat on the bus. And Aaron brought sales techniques that we weren't familiar with up until that time. When Aaron came, we were selling about 80, 85 houses a year. And during the 16-year period, we saw sales get up over 400. And before I met Aaron, the only sales manager we had was myself.
Teen overall NBA draft pick shares about his revolutionary new fitness-related product, transitioning into becoming a broadcaster, and skills were at a level where you thought, I can do this.
It was probably my junior year, because my first year I didn't play because of Proposition 48. My second year I got a little bit of minutes,
and I was completely unable to perform that job. And so Aaron brought major changes and great results with them. In the many years that I was building houses before Aaron, I was great at selling if somebody wanted to buy. But they had to be knocking on my door asking me to sell them a house before I could actually make that sell. I had no sales techniques and no ability to generate sales. Aaron coming in as a natural salesperson just absolutely transformed that and made the sales experience better for the company and better for our buyers. But prior to Aaron, I would work all week for the company. I'd sit in the model home over the weekend, and I had a salesperson or two, but I was actually out there all weekend working that. Since hiring Aaron, I was able to take my weekends off, even reduce my workload during the week. I went from working 60, 70 hours a week to almost a normal workload. So I've been a member of the Builder 20 program in the National Association of Home Builders for 20 years. And during that time, I've seen a lot of sales managers with the other companies that have been involved. And in my opinion, Aaron is smarter and sharper than any sales.
My third year, kind of similar to high school, I exploded in high school in my junior year, and I exploded at Pepperdine in my junior year as the MVP of the league.
Manager of any builder that's ever been in our group. Now, some markets, they don't have to try to sell, they just sell themselves. But with the ability to sell and to train and hire, Aaron was better than any of those sales managers that were in my program. Well, I remember when I considered hiring Aaron many years ago, the thought of spending the extra money was a little scary, but in hindsight, it was one of the best things I've ever done. It freed my time, increased our sales, and at the end of the day, increased our profitability beyond my wildest expectations. Years ago, I was concerned that if I didn't do whatever a customer asked me to do, it might be the last house I sold. And so over time, we were able to move away from unlimited customization to pre-designed options. The problem that we were having in those days is that the customer would tell us what they wanted, but they didn't really know what they wanted. And we would deliver exactly what they told us to do, and they wouldn't be happy with it. So as we became more standardized, we give lots of options, but we don't customize. And in the end, that allows us to sell more homes for better margins than spending countless hours trying to customize in just every avenue of the sales process.
And all of a sudden, I was like, okay, wow, I think that this is something I can do. We started going to play teams like North Carolina and different things. So now I'm starting to see these people who are getting a lot of publicity, and they're saying,
we get weekly reports on sales, on profitability, on production, and it provides all the management tools that I need to review the company from a 10,000-foot level.
All right, Thrive Nation, on today's show, what we're going to focus on is how to grow a successful company. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a graphic that is the theory of how to grow a successful company, but vision without execution is hallucination. And so if you go to thrivetimeshow.com/millionaire, you can download a book that I have written called A Millionaire's Guide, How to Become Sustainably Rich. You can download it for free at thrivetimeshow.com/millionaire, but you have to actually implement that which is in the book. And so on today's show, we're joined by a very successful person in the home building business, a great friend of mine, a man by the name of Aaron Antis. Aaron Antis, welcome on to the Thrivetime Show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Clay. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, so I got to ask you this for people out there that want to prove you're not a hologram. First off, what's the website for your company so people can verify that you are, in fact, a real business?
You bet. It's shawhomes.com. SHAWHOMES.com. Shawhomes.com.
I'm pulling it up, shawhomes.com. Pulling it up. That's the website, shawhomes.com.
Yep.
And when you and I met, before we met, you had been already very successful as a home builder. You turned your dream of being a home builder guy into reality.
Yeah.
So how many homes had you sold, or what kind of sales had you done in your career as a home builder guy before you and I even met?
Before we met, probably about 750 million in sales prior to meeting you.
And then
and they would be draft picks and different things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm playing really well against them.
now you got drafted by the Sonic. You did the year we first started working together. What were the sales totals that year?
We were at like 19 million.
19 million. And then when you ended 2022, obviously we're in 2023, and so we'll see how this year ends. But as far as ending 2022, how much sales did you do last year at the end of 2022?
2022, we were at like 84 million.
Okay, so from 19 million to
84 million.
84 million. So you're doing some things right here. And what we're going to try to do is kind of demystify the plan here. Okay, so here we go. So establishing revenue goals.
Yep.
When you and I first started working together, we started off with a 13-point assessment. We went over your goals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to ask you to share your goals on the air, but why is it important that you have goals?
Well, I mean, goals are sort of your guideposts that, you set something out there in front of you and you start chasing after it. And without that, you're just kind of floundering in mediocrity. You don't have any reason to get up in the morning and really get after it. And so, I think goals are, you can have lots of different types of goals. And we've talked about a lot of this. We've talked about, having financial goals and having, fitness goals and having friendship goals and just all these different areas. I know you've got the F6, so that's kind of something that, we touched on very early on. You asked me, like, is one of your goals more income or is it more time? And so I said, well, really, at this point, it's more income. And then later it became more time. So, it's changed over the time I've known you since 2016. We're going on.
So what was it like to hear your name called in the draft?
Oh man, that's for a kid, that's like the greatest moment of all time. I mean, you hear the commissioner David Stern go up and
7 years, and the income went up considerably. So now it's turned in the last couple of years towards more time.
Now, the break-even numbers, again, I'm not asking you for the numbers on the show, but you guys have a lot of fixed costs. I mean, if you go to shawhomes.com, you've got framers, you have plumbers, you have the tile people, you have so many skilled people, you have a full-time sales team, you have an admin staff, and if you don't sell a house, you still have the service of the land, you still have all the overhead. Why is it important for every listener out there to know their break-even point? How many deals they need per month just to break even?
Well, yeah, because you're going backwards real quick, and it doesn't take very long. If you're at the beginning of your business, it doesn't take very long for you to be in a place where, the creditors are knocking at your door and you're, you can't pay your bills, and all of a sudden you're going to lose all your, for us, all of our trades, all of our suppliers are going to start backing out. So, you've got to know what that number is that lets you tread water, so that, okay, this is the worst case scenario. Everything above that, at least I'm into the profit zone. So, you go out of business pretty quick. Most businesses don't last more than just a few months if they get below that break-even number. So
now, folks, again, these might seem like simple steps, but they're all the linear steps you have to take to create time freedom and financial freedom. And if you want to grow your company, this is how you do it. Box number 3, though, is you have to know the hours you're willing to work. Now, your incredible wife is here off camera for accountability. So at any point, she could yell like, "Hey, man," or "Boo." But you guys are on the same page with the hours you're willing to work. And you guys, as a couple, I want to brag on both of you.
Say with the 17th pick in the 1992 draft, the Seattle Supersonics select Doug Christie. So you pair that with the fact that Seattle is.
You guys both committed to sacrificing time and energy and a lot of things to get to where you're at in life.
Yeah. And
then as you had your children, you raised them, you decided to devote time to raising said kids. Yeah. And now that your kids are older, you're devoting time to raising these kids. So it's not like you abdicated being a parent while also growing a company. You did both well. I'd love to get your thoughts on sitting down with your spouse, if you're watching this today, or your significant other, and making sure you're on the same page about how many hours per week you're willing to work.
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't want to grow a business to, make a whole bunch of money just so you can split it in half later.
Oh,
because that's kind of what happens when you don't work out those details ahead of time. And so my wife and I have been married 25 years. We've been together for 4 before that. And so, yeah, 26. Did I just say 25?
But real quick, I hate to do this to you.
I just got in trouble.
I hate to. Your wife just turned 27 on Thursday, and what you said is 100% false. Okay, so the unique value proposition here. Now, let's talk about this. Whether it's, growing a home building company or a dog training business or a haircut chain or a carpet cleaning franchise or whatever business we're involved in helping to grow, you have to sit down as a listener out there, as a business owner. You got to figure out what makes your company unique.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you, what makes Shaw Homes unique in the marketplace with other home builders?
Yeah, we have more furnished and decorated model homes than any other builder in the market. So, a lot of times people, when they walk into a home and they're trying to decide if they like the floor plan, the layout, whatever, most builders in our market have an empty house that they walk into. It's just kind of
my hometown, and that's just it was a blessing that didn't turn into a blessing because of contract negotiations and different things. But to hear your name called is a dream come true.
Echoes when you walk through it. There's no furniture or anything, and we completely, as you can see in this little video here, we completely furnish and decorate it. Make it beautiful. We are the most award-winning builder in the state of Oklahoma.
That's true.
We've won like 5 times as many awards as any other builder in the market. So definitely that is one of our big, takeaways.
And I'm going to throw you under the bus real quick, and I don't mean to do this super passively aggressively. It'll just be more of a subtle passive aggressive. When I met you, you guys had all these awards, but no one knew.
That's true.
It was like this weird, bizarre thing where you had all these awards. I remember talking to you, and I'm like, what makes you guys different? And you're like, we do a good job. And you're nice about it. You're a good salesperson. But I said, well, tell me about the awards. And you're like, well, we got this award, that award.
This is true.
This award. Like 45 minutes later, it's like that award, this award. I need to shave now. This award. That award. I need to go brush my teeth. This award, that award. I want to go mow the lawn now. This award, that award. I'm thinking about retiring. This award. That my kids are turning 18. I can see it. This award. You're just going, and this award and that award. And so we put those on the website, and that helped. And the other thing you guys we needed to change was all these people were saying great things, but we didn't have video reviews of them saying it on camera.
Right.
So it was like your online reputation didn't match your real world reputation. You had so much good momentum there, and so many people loved you guys. And now you guys have, would you say, 100 video reviews?
Oh gosh, I would say more than that. We've got, we have a lot.
And every week
you could just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling.
I was scrolling.
And this is actually all that's on this page. If you go to our
What did it feel like? Take us to the bottom again. What did it feel like to be traded right away? I mean, you've got a lot of trades throughout your career. What does it feel like when
YouTube channel, we have way more than this. So yeah.
So again, and this is all the stuff. You're going to grow a successful company, folks. Step 1, you got to figure out your revenue goals. Step 2, you got to figure out your break-even goals. Step 3, sit down for an hour of power. Sit down with your spouse. Make sure that you guys are on the same page of your hours you're willing to work. Step 4, unique value proposition. Figure out what it is that makes you unique. And we have an in-depth guide that you can download for free at thrivetimeshow.com/millionaire. If you get stuck. Next box, you got to improve your branding, your website, your one sheet, in your case, model home presentations, business cards, social media branding, everything that a customer sees needs to be first class. And I was talking to a guy named Ronnie Morales today, and it's Morales Brothers. I think you met him at a conference.
Mm-hmm.
He told me this, and I'm not slamming Ronnie. Ronnie, if you're listening, I'm not slamming you. This is the real thing. Ronnie said he listened to our show for 7 consecutive years before ever reaching out. And now he's reached out and he's up 57% in about 8 months.
That's awesome.
And we're going to put his story on part 2 of today's show because he's in Texas.
Cool.
And he's 7 years behind you.
Yeah.
But he's doing a great job.
Good for him.
What do you think that thing is where people have bad branding and they are not, is it, we're not aware of it? Is it someone hasn't brought it to our attention? What causes bad branding?
The number one thing I hear business owners say is, well, I don't really need good branding because I sell everything by word of mouth.
Oh yeah, baby.
Like I've got such an incredible reputation.
You do.
That everybody just comes to me by word of mouth.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, yeah, but how much business did you do last year? Well, not very much. And I'm really unprofitable, but I've got
You're traded.
Obviously at the beginning, and I say this to some younger players, is when you're in high school, you go to high school and you live with that high school for your whole life.
great, reputation out there, and I get a lot of word of mouth. So when people switch over to starting to improve branding, I know you helped us a lot with that in just creating a lot better looking website, creating we've got an office environment now that is, when people walk into our model home, they are blown away. We truly wow our customers when they come to our model homes.
Yep.
It's a one-of-a-kind experience in the state of Oklahoma. And the process of that, just going through branding it so that it looks really top notch. And, that includes everything from, marketing to all of your senses and everything else. So it just really brought us to another level. And when the customer comes in and experiences us after having walked through other builders' homes, they usually come in and go, you guys are just on a whole nother level.
It's sights, sounds, smells, experiences, everything that your customer sees, they're grading you on. And you might not know that they are even judging you because they're not filling out the form. And I have a funny story to share with you that's kind of sad. I was working with a fitness guy years ago, and I'm not going to tell you what state he's in or what city, folks. But I know you want to know, but I'm not going to tell you. And he filled out the form because his wife wanted him to schedule a 13-point assessment.
Mm-hmm.
He did not want to.
Yep.
And he tells me, Clay, honestly, I'm just doing the call because my wife wants me on the phone. And I got to tell you, I don't get leads from social media. I don't get leads from marketing. I get all my leads word of mouth, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, let me just do this. Let's just, this first month working together, let me get all the passwords for your Facebook, your Google, your YouTube. And I'm just, as the first month, we do this with every single client. Yeah. We optimize.
I'm a Viking from Rainier Beach forever, blue and orange. Then you go to college, I'm a Wave, Pepperdine, blue and orange.
Your YouTube, your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, all that.
Yep.
We log on. This is a fitness guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was spending like $400 a week every week on ads.
Yeah.
And he wasn't aware that every time a lead came in, it got stuck in Facebook and went to an email address that he wasn't checking.
Whoa.
So think about this.
That's not good.
And it's like 15 to 20 leads a week for years this guy had.
That's not good.
And he didn't even, and so I'm going, you're spending, $20,000 a year on ads that you're not getting anything from. And are you aware that the phone number on your site rings to a phone that's no longer a real phone? And I'm serious. This was real. And then he had before and after photos where somebody had the idea of let's get before and after photos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where you interview someone before they start working out.
Yeah.
But then they never completed the thought.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Where
yes.
it's like they interview them about getting in shape.
Yeah.
But then they never actually like aired the part where they're in shape.
Oh no.
So it's just sort of like an interview with people that are not in shape. And I'm like, and again, he's busy guy, busy entrepreneur. That kind of stuff is very common. It's kind of laughable if it's not your company.
Yeah.
But okay, next box. You got to determine your customer acquisition costs. How much does it cost you to get a customer? So Aaron, you guys run ads on Google, on Facebook, on retargeting ads. You have massive signage. There's a lot of stuff you do.
Yep.
Why is it important to know how much it costs you at the end of the day to get an actual new buyer of a Shaw home?
Well, because if you want more of those, you know what it costs to go generate more of those. And it's,
look into his daily routines and habits that keep him looking healthy, silky, and smooth. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Doug.
And you make it to the NBA, and your mentality is that's going to be the same thing. Is I'm going to be yellow and green, Seattle SuperSonics. But all of a sudden, that's when you get traded. You learn that this is a business.
The cost where it's like, okay, well, I'm down in sales this month or this quarter or whatever, and I need 4 more sales to make it a good quarter here before the end of the quarter. And it's like, I know I can go put money into that, and it's going to cost me X number of dollars per customer to get there. And so then it's just a matter of, do I want to spend that money to get to that point? So, for us, it's, a pretty high number because it's a big ticket item, but for some people it might be, very small to get that, each customer. But for us, it's, you got to know what the number is, because ultimately that goes into the price of your product, and whatever you sell, we're doing homes. That is one of our line item costs in our homes.
That's what costs.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to any of the businesses that I'm involved in, you go to eitrlounge.com/staff. I put in the password here. Once I put in the password, I have all of the documents needed to run the company, and they're all saved. So the checklist for the manager, the opening checklist for the assistant manager, the bathroom cleaning checklist, everything needed to grow the company's all in one place. And therefore, the business, everybody who works there knows where to go to find those documents. This is the kind of stuff that fires me up, and it makes other people crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So with the conferences we do, if we ever do a conference that's out of town, I have a checklist of stuff I print out. I know it seems kind of crazy for people, but this is real. I print it out, and it's like, okay, socks. If I'm gone for 4 days, I want to have 12 pairs of socks. Why? Because it could be hot. I don't know. Could get wet. I don't know. I have a list of, deodorant and socks and shaving, and I have a laptop and a backup laptop, and I have patch cables and XLR cables, and we bring. And
it slaps you in the face. And now if you haven't been understanding about the business aspect, you really have to take that into consideration.
You've seen all this stuff, but it's multiple monitors, backup monitors. It's backups for everything. When you guys build a Shaw home, you're not moving off of guesswork. There's blueprints, there's plans, there's systems, so houses don't fall down. There's somebody out here listening right now that doesn't have systems in place. They don't have checklists.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have it, and so they have to think about everything all the time, because if not, they forget a step.
Yeah.
What would you say is the importance of having taken the time to have built these systems now?
It is the night and day difference between running around like your hair is on fire every day, constantly playing firefighter, or, you hear people say, oh, I'm up to my armpits in alligators. It's because you don't have systems and processes. And every time at Shaw Homes, every time that we have a problem come up, we automatically go, okay, what step in our system did this fall apart in?
Yep.
And what's broken in that step, and how can we fix it so it never happens again? So we go fix the process. We address the problem for the customer, but then we go back after that and we go, how do we fix the process so we don't repeat this problem? And the business owners that are running around with their hair on fire all the time, it's because there's no systems, no processes. Everything is urgent. Everything is hair on fire.
Correct.
And it is a chaos world that you live in. And if you're going to build homes for a living and build a lot of them, you cannot live in that chaos world.
Now, this next box, I get excited about all these boxes. This is what I get excited about. This right here is what I care about. Okay. The next box is management and execution. You have people on your team, and I'm just going to give some examples, and I hope this benefits somebody out there listening. You have people on from the Knicks to the Raptors to the Kings. I know you had a lot of great experiences. What was your favorite NBA experience? Where was the team where you felt like, okay, I've fired a team. It's their responsibility every time that you do a new house.
Mhm.
They go out there and they design, or they get the blueprint on the website.
Yep.
They get the new design of the home because people want to see floor plans.
Yep.
So somebody's job is to get those up there.
Yes.
Somebody gets photos of every house that you guys are building.
Yeah.
Somebody gets videos of every
100%.
house. Somebody puts them all up for sale. Somebody answers the phone every day.
Yes.
Somebody calls the leads every day.
Every day.
Somebody cleans the bathroom every day. Somebody builds the houses every day. Now, this is what I find, and I'm sure none of our listeners can relate to this. Some of our listeners fire people, and then nothing happens. So work with me on this. There's listeners out there that I talk to them every day because we do free 13-point assessments. So I talk to 2 or 3 people a day who go to thrivetimeshow.com. They want to schedule a consultation. And the other day you heard me talking to Jordan. I said, Jordan, go ahead and keep setting those, because he set an appointment with someone who's definitely not a good fit.
Yep.
And you could tell he had a little, question if that was okay. And I said, I would rather you set an appointment with somebody than not, because I don't know if who's a good fit or not,
Yeah.
But the idea, though, is I sit down. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was like, the reason why my team did not get Google reviews or reviews this week is because we fired a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, because I'm just asking him, where are we stuck? What's your biggest limiting factor? I have a big process I go through in my evaluation.
Yep.
I said, who calls the leads? He's like, well, normally I have a person that calls the leads, but we just fired her. And I mean this stuff. I'm going, how long have you been in business? This guy's been in business for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's reaching out for help. Good person. We're trying to help him. I think it's going to be a good. Finally got my NBA traction.
That's easy because that was the Kings. But you just mentioned 3 things.
Fit. But so I said, so basically everybody follows the systems until they don't work there anymore. And then no one does the systems. And you go back and forth vacillating from things being done to not being done.
Mhm.
And one of my favorite things about working with you guys is that you're honest people. What does that mean? You do your best to do what you say you're going to do.
Mhm.
And you hold yourself and the employees accountable.
Absolutely.
But what would happen if every week if somebody wasn't performing, you remove them from the position, and then the houses weren't built for the week because something wasn't going well, or because maybe a salesperson wasn't performing at the peak, you let them go, and the next thing you know, what would happen if you managed your company that way?
It would be a disaster. I mean, I can't just fire my superintendent without having somebody already ready to take over all of those responsibilities, because I've got materials showing up at the job site today, tomorrow, and the next day. I've got trades showing up who need some supervision, need to know what they're supposed to be doing. If I fire that guy with no warning, somebody else has to come fill in that position. So, for us, we try to never have that gap happen. And, sometimes it's like, that you're going to need to fire somebody and you can see the writing on the wall.
Right.
But you want to get the next person up and ready to go before that happens.
And you guys have a weekly meeting. So we talk a lot on the show from an employer perspective, but how frustrating would it be to be an A-player employee and you're working for a C-player boss? A boss that doesn't have a staff meeting, that's not organized, that doesn't pay people on time, that's constantly emotional. I see that a lot. And so management.
I hit them real quickly. When I go to the Knicks, I learned how to be a pro because Pat Riley, I learned how to come early, stay late. That was incredible. I go to Toronto this is their first year in the.
It's a learned skill.
Yes,
and thankfully, when I first met with you, you'd already really mastered, in my opinion, managing people. But this next box is where I thought we needed some help, was to build a system for constantly recruiting new people, because certain people work for Shaw Homes for 3 years or 4 years, and then they want to go move, they want to have a baby, they want to stay home, they want to get a new job. And even though you have low turnover at Shaw, certain people get to their expiration date and it's time for them to move on to something else. And because we didn't have a process in place at Shaw at that time to consistently bring in a pipeline of new people, it made it difficult to do the management that was needed. Can you talk about the importance of implementing a human resources program for hiring, inspiring, training, and retaining good people?
It's huge. I mean, that was definitely an Achilles heel for us. And you helped us a lot with that. Putting in where every single week I'm seeing, potential candidates that could come work for us, and they're job shadowing and seeing what it's like to work in our company every single week.
Yep.
It does multiple things. It helps the people who work there to know, hey, there's other people who desire to come work here.
Here we go.
And, if I'm not doing my job, I might get replaced. So there's a little bit of that. And then it's also a thing of, the people who are shadowing get to see the job being done by people who are happy doing their job. And it helps them to want to come be a part of Shaw Homes. I've got a very long list of people right now in every single position that would be excited to come work for us if I did all of a sudden find myself with an opening, because occasionally people
MBA and Hall of Famer Isaiah Thomas is there, and he kind of takes the reins off and allows me to think different and explore myself.
leave with no notice or whatever, something happens, family emergency, whatever.
Right.
And you have that, oh, I need to replace somebody immediately. And the great thing about it is I have a whole bunch of people that I could plug into that position very quickly because every single week I am interviewing.
Now, the next box here is you got to do your accounting, and in order to automate, in order to earn millions, you have to automate your accounting. What does that mean? You have to have a system in place for making sure you price your products and services correctly, and that you pay yourself first, that you set aside a set amount of money to pay yourself and your staff. And all these things work together. And what I find is people ask me, often just not knowing, they come from a place of a good heart, they don't know. They say to me, Clay, what is the most important step in growing Shaw Homes? I've heard Aaron on the show. He's a great guy. Clay, I've heard PMH OKC on the show. Clay, I've seen OxyFresh on the show. What was the most important thing they did? And to me, that's like asking a hiker, what was the most important step you took to get to the top of that mountain?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was the one we took there an hour ago. I took a left step. No, it's or it's that gasket of baker. What's the most important ingredient? Is it milk? Is it sugar? Is it eggs? Is it, it's like asking a farmer, what's the most important thing, feeding the animals or watering them? What's the key to your success? There's just certain questions that I understand people want to know,
Sure.
but all of this has to work together, and nothing
Absolutely.
works unless you do. So I have 3 final questions for you. For anybody out there that's thinking about scheduling a consultation, a free consultation with thrivetimeshow.com and myself, obviously they're stuck with me if they fill out the form. I'm the only person that does 13-point assessments.
Right.
And I really started getting traction. So by the time I got to Sacramento, everything hit on top of the fact that the Sacramento situation with the teammates, with the style of play, it was just a perfect.
I believe I've seen it since 2005. We help people decrease their costs, increase their time freedom and profits. What would you say is the benefit of scheduling that 13-point assessment?
Well, actually, the 13-point assessment was very eye-opening for me. You asked me a lot of tough questions that I probably should have been asking myself and wasn't. And so as we went through the questions, I was like, I think at every question you asked me, I was like, oh, that's a good question. And I was like, hang on, let me think about that for a minute. So I find that it kind of helps open your eyes to, these are some things that I know I have some areas of weakness. And then there were, I think, a couple of the questions where I was like, oh, I know the answer to this one. I got this one, no problem. But it helps you sort of identify. I walked away having identified areas of strength and areas of weakness, even though that really wasn't the purpose of the phone call necessarily. It helped me to see that. And then I was like, I think I have a need in a couple of these areas, and I didn't really know what to do for myself. I didn't have the answers.
In part 3 of today's show, part 2, we're going to show the Ronnie Morales story. On part 3, we're going to do a testimony with Myron. And Myron just bought his first Lamborghini today, and he's super fired up. And so Myron's about 6 years down the path. We've been working with you for about 8 years, whereas Ronnie's been with us for less than a year. And it's at a certain point that we have to take action. Knowledge without application is meaningless. What would you say to somebody who's like, it's $1,700 a month, and, I'm spending that much right now on random ads and that much money on random regrettable purchases at the gas station, and, a lot of iTunes I'm downloading. I'm spending
What I call basketball nirvana.
I really, really like Pat Riley in probably an unhealthy way. His intensity, $100 a month on various things, and I don't know if I can afford it because I've just bought another vehicle that I can't afford, but I'm leasing it. What would you say to anybody who's kind of on that fence?
I would say you need to do it. It has been a game changer for us. I don't know why you would sit there and think $1,700 a month is too much money to spend. Go find the money somewhere. Go empty out your sofa cushions. Go sell the stuff that you have in your house that you're not using. Go get, whatever you need to do to get to that place. You need to find that $1,700. And I will say this. that cost was very quickly replaced with the extra money we were making. And I've actually seen, because I've been around you for a long time, I've seen a lot of your clients come in and right off the bat, they're real nervous about, am I going to be able to, because maybe they're a smaller company or whatever. Right. And they're like, I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to handle this $1,700 a month. And then I see them 6 months later and I'm like, how's it going now? And they're like, man, we're just hitting record after record. I have referred several business owners
and they're doing great,
that are killing it. And that, I'll give one example. I won't name the person, but I did send one of my very good friends to you who was on the verge of losing his business because he just wasn't able. He had bought another one of the shops of what he does. Yep. He opened it and it was not profitable and it was going to take under both of his shops. And I sent him over to you. And I remember about 3 months later, I asked him, how's it going? And he goes, man, we just had a record-breaking month. This was amazing. And
by the way, said person just hit another record-breaking month, just so you know.
Yeah, and I know.
Just loved his career. What was it like playing for him? Was it scary?
That's funny that you asked that question because the first time that I met Pat Riley, I
right now, not only does he have way more income, but he has a lot more time freedom because he's been working with you for many years now. And so it changed his life just like it changed my life. I would say if you're thinking about, doing a 13-point assessment, stop thinking, dial the phone, pause this video, make the phone call, reach out to Clay, get it started right now.
Now, final question I have is, I think people look at oxyfresh.com and they go, man, there's 500 locations now.
Yeah.
They look at Elephant in the Room and they go, there's 5 brick and mortar locations now. They look at Shaw Homes and they go, these are big success stories. Yeah. I don't know that I can do it. What would you say to somebody out there that just feels like they might not have all this stuff they're going to learn is going to be over their head, too complicated? What would you say?
I would say the information, the ideas are easy. It's the application that is difficult for people. The ideas that you share, there's nothing that's like, oh my God, I don't have a PhD, therefore I can't do it. I feel like it's all very, very simple stuff, but it is a lot of action to get traction. And you got to get the action going. And I think if somebody has diligence and discipline or can learn diligence or discipline, they're going to do extremely well. And it's not about education. It's about action.
Now, Aaron, I got one thing I want to say, and then we'll kind of wrap up today's show, okay, with a boom, because boom stands for big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum. And that's what's required to have success. People watching this, they're going, wow, Aaron, he looks like a normal guy. Well, that's true. They say, well, he sounds like a normal guy. Sounds like an all right guy. That's true. But the one thing you can't quite picture on the show, and I want to just give that gift to you folks who are watching, is Aaron smells tremendous.
Like you watched him on television and saw the suits and the hair and the professionalism. And the first time that I met him,
it's like if you had smell-o-vision, if you could just get up there and just smell that thing, it's incredible. And it's really, it's his aroma that allows him to achieve massive success. So if you're out there and you're going, what's the secret sauce? It's not a sauce. It's more of just a smell. So I don't know if you qualify to have the kind of success he has unless you smell like he smells. It's a really tremendous smell. Okay, let's end this thing with a boom. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom. Well, Thrive Nation, we have an opportunity all the time.
Clay, my honor to be on your show. And thank you for all you do. I hear the ripple effects from you are good ripple effects. You know what I mean? People rave about what they learned from you. So congratulations.
Sean, guess what's happening June 5th and 6th right here in Tulsa, Jerusalem?
We are probably going to have an amazing business conference here at Tulsa, Jerusalem.
Yes, we're joined by Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow is going to be joining us right here at the Thrivetime Show World Headquarters June 5th and 6th. He's a very successful football player, obviously a Heisman Award winner, but he's also a very successful entrepreneur. Now, when you work with real clients, Sean, clients you really work with to help them grow their companies, do you ever hear a business owner tell you that they didn't have time to get something done?
Every day.
How often is not having enough time a problem for business owners?
All the time. It's like maybe 90% of the issues as people are trying to grow their company.
Well, Tim Tebow is going to come join us here at the in-person Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business workshop, and he's going to teach us time management and his approach to personal self-discipline and getting things done. Christie.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by two different women.
Walked to his office, and when I first got traded there, and the secretary said, "Please sit down, wait." And I waited probably 6-7 minutes. It seemed like an hour though. But when I walked in, it was a dark office with wood.
Also at the workshop, I'll put up on the website so people can see it here. Also at the 2-day interactive workshop, Sean, we are going to be, there it is. We're going to be teaching accounting, systems creation, marketing, human resources, how to hire, inspire, train, and retain great people, accounting, social media advertising, search engine optimization. Sean, what's the area where most clients ask you for help the most? Is it generating leads? Is it hiring people? What's the biggest issue that most business owners have by default before they come to one of our workshops?
Well, I think it's management, because time is the most valuable resource for these business owners, and being able to manage their time is the first thing. Once they get that under control, then generally the numbers, being able to track their business and be able to make the best decisions based on numbers rather than emotions is a big area. And we teach all of this stuff at the business conference, particularly you, Clay. You love to hammer on time management. It's my favorite part of the conference.
Now, I'm going to pull this up real quick here because we're going to go through. If you're not excited, I want to get you excited about what we're going to cover at the workshop here. Okay.
All right.
The 2-day interactive workshop. This is my 20th year hosting workshops. So I'm telling you, folks, we're in rare form here. So one is the idea of establishing your revenue goals. I think most entrepreneurs don't know their revenue goals. Would you agree, or am I off my rocker?
No, that's totally a very important point we do with every one of our new clients that come on board, is we have to establish the revenue goals. And generally speaking, we have a vague idea, but not an exact idea that can be engineered down into like the daily goals for sales.
I was kind of sitting behind the desk like, Don Corleone, and I was just like, oh my God, man, that is Pat Riley.
And so that's a really big one.
Now, next is the break-even numbers. What kind of sales do you have to do to even break even?
Yeah.
Third is, how many hours per week do you want to work? What is your ideal schedule as an entrepreneur? Box number 4, how do you stand out in the clutter of commerce? What makes your company unique from all the different businesses? In a world of brown cows, herds of brown cows, proverbial brown cows, the analogy of brown cows, how can you be the purple cow that stands out? How can you be the squeaky wheel that gets the oil? Box number 5, branding. How do you improve the perception that people have of you, your business, your brand? Box number 6, marketing, your 3-legged marketing tool. What is a turnkey way for you and your company to generate leads so you can succeed? Because if you don't have any leads, your business will bleed. If you can't sell, your business will go to hell. You've got to generate leads. Sean, how often do business owners by default tell you they have a hard time generating leads?
It's almost all of the time. It's really a huge struggle. And many times they may be creating leads, but just through word of mouth. So they get to a point where we've implemented systems, and then they need to create more leads, but they've never had to do it. So there's a lot of different scenarios where business owners are like, how do you create leads? Something we hammer on at the conference a lot.
Box number 7, create a sales conversion system. Again, box number 7, create a sales conversion system. Sales scripts, recorded calls, one-sheets, pre-written emails, lead trackers, all of the sales tools, the sales print pieces, the one-sheets, the big screens that you see inside the business. Whether you're a doctor, you're a dentist, you're a lawyer, you got to have.
I love him to this day because of his honesty and his frankness. And I accredit him with a lot that happened because I learned how to be a true professional under him.
On the Kings, you sales systems in place. We help you with that. Box number 8, what does it cost you to get another customer? Step number 8, what does it cost you to actually acquire a customer? Step number 9, it's hard to build an organization if you're not organized. We're going to teach you how to create repeatable systems, processes, file organization. Box number 10, we're going to teach you how to manage people, real people on the planet Earth. This just in, we're going to teach you how to manage real people on the planet Earth. Box number 11, how to create a sustainable schedule that works for you and your family. Step number 12, how to create human resources systems for recruiting, hiring, training, and retaining great people. Box number 13, accounting. This just in, we have to cover accounting. It's not how much you make, it's how much you keep. We're going to cover all the accounting things you need to know. And step 14, finally, what is the point of even achieving success? We're going to go over what is the point of even achieving success, how to design a life that you're excited about, how to design a life where you carve out enough time for your faith, your family, your finance, your fitness, your friendship, your fun, and where you're going to spend your focused time. We're going to go through that, all this and more. Now, the workshop, Sean, it's June 5th and 6th.
Yep.
It's a 2-day interactive workshop.
Yes.
And tickets, we always do it. It's $250 or whatever price that someone can afford. Sean, why do we let people name their price? Why do we have scholarship tickets available if somebody can't afford the $250 general admission ticket?
Well, we don't want anybody to miss out on it. You know, you could be at a startup phase or you could be, you know, way along in your business, but we want to make it accessible for everybody. I think it actually goes back to a story of your dad, and like it goes all the way back to how you've always done this as a business coach, trying to make sure that, you know, your average people out there have access to the things that work.
Now, 7 a.m. to 5, Sean, we're surrounded by talent, and you all seem to gel in this way that was, it was almost like you were brothers. It was that camaraderie of like almost like why do we go from 7 to 5 both days? I mean, it's 10 hours a day, 20 hours of training over 2 days. Why do we do 10 hours a day, Sean, of back-to-back workshops? We do a 30-minute teaching session. We do a 15-minute question and answer session, and then we take a break. 30 minutes of teaching, 15 minutes of question and answer, then we take a break. Why do we do that format, Sean?
That format is so that we can keep people engaged and not just sitting there listening, but also getting involved. We really encourage people to ask questions, and that's really where the juiciness of the conference comes out, is you can put your personal situation and your questions on the board, and Clay will tee off and give you direct advice. Even without being in our coaching program, you can get direct coaching from Clay. It's really a very engaging format. I enjoy it a lot.
Sean, final 60 seconds, pop quiz here. What date is the conference?
June 5th and 6th, 2025, this year.
Question number 2, who's our keynote speaker coming to the conference there, Sean?
Tim Tebow is our keynote speaker.
Sean, question number 3, how much does it cost to come to our in-person 2-day interactive business workshop right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma?
I think it's, did you say it's $250 or whatever you can afford?
That's right, $250 or whatever you can afford. Sean, how do you spell Eric Trump backwards?
P-M-U-R-T-C-I-R-E. Ooh, that took a long time.
I'll have to listen to this. And you did it right. All right, again, that's Sean Lohman. I'm Clay Clark, and inviting you to come join us at the in-person Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive workshop, June 5th and 6th, right here in Tulsa, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Sean, I really have 5 kind of a vibe, you know, and it was like Chris Webber. I mean, just wow. Wow. Bibby, wow. They just had a great chemistry. Talk to me about the chemistry and how deep did that chemistry go? I'm excited to have this event. I'm excited to see you at the event June 5th and 6th right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tim Tebow, baby. It's Tebow time in Tulsa, Jerusalem.
You could be anywhere doing a lot of different things, but you chose to be here.
Clay Clark is here somewhere. Where's my buddy Clay? Clay's the greatest. I met his goats today. I met his dogs. I met his chickens. I saw his compound. He's like the greatest guy.
I ran from his goats, his chickens, his dogs.
So this guy's like the greatest marketer you've ever seen, right? His entire life, Clay Clark, his entire life is marketing.
Hey guys, Luke Erickson here with the Thrivetime Show. As you can see behind me, we've got all kinds of energy going on. People are starting to show up for the conference, and it is hot in this place. We got grill guns over here. We've got people playing the drums. We've got fire breathers, and man, people are so excited as they come in. The conference is kicked off. This house is packed. We've got Aaron Hansis with Shaw Holmes up there. We've got Steve Currington with Total Lending Concepts up there talking about what is possible when you just implement, when you do the proven system. It's so exciting. People are going crazy. Guys, Luke Erickson with the Thrivetime Show here with you. It is day 2 and the energy is high. People are so excited to be showing up. The team is ready. Come on, let's see what it's like to go on in for day 2. Follow me.
Was it 5 players deep, 6 players deep, 8 players deep? Talk to me about that team chemistry of the greatest show on the court.
You know that.
I'll tell you what, people are so excited to be here for day 2. It is going to be incredible. Cannot wait to see what today has in store.
Right now,
here at the conference, we've broken into groups going over search engine optimization. And I know for most of us, myself included, if you hear that term, you go, what is that? What does that mean? That's too techie for me. Well, our experts are breaking it down for people so that you can clearly understand how to come up top in Google. It's doable. It's possible. Now we're in the middle of a break, and what we like to do is we like to give you as much tangible and relevant information from about the start of the hour for 45 minutes. Then we take approximately a 15-minute break to allow people to connect with other entrepreneurs around them, bathroom breaks, and also use this time to just really digest all of the good information that you're receiving the whole time. Right behind me, we've got Bob with his grill gun, melting an ice sculpture. It is awesome. The ice sculpture represents our life, right? It's here for a time, but we all need to have the sense of urgency to implement the things that we're learning so that we can make the most of the time that we have.
I heard about it on the podcast. Started listening to the podcast, became a fan, and then figured out about the workshop. I own an insurance and financial services agency, and I was hoping to learn from the workshop systems and processes. I'm big on systems and processes.
That's a great question because now back with the Kings, they're trying to build that back with Vlade as the general manager. I think that's kind of in what I watched. That looks like the feel that they're trying to get.
And always learning better ways to run a business more efficiently. The atmosphere's second to none. It's a high energy, really cool atmosphere to be around. Contagious, I would say. Just something every entrepreneur, I think, would appreciate and love. I'd say humorous, high energy, and full of substance, which I think is the key. A lot of business coaches or seminars maybe are high on motivation and making you feel good, but don't have a lot of substance that you can take back and implement, the following Monday, where his does. And there's a lot of valuable things. I'm going to say, this is my second workshop. The first workshop I took back really the importance of a group interview. I used to spend hours and hours interviewing people, screening resumes, and that saving my time on that part is valuable. It was that and then the sales scripting that have been two major things just so far. Man, I think they're missing out on expert advice from somebody who's been there, done that, built companies, has learned a lot of lessons. That's what I'm always looking for, is somebody that I can learn from that's ahead of where I am. And I think if you choose not to come, you're missing out on a lot of good advice that could help your business.
Hi, I'm Aaron Antis with Shaw Homes. I first heard about Clay through a mortgage lender here in town who had told me what a great job he had been doing for them.
It wasn't 5, 6, 7. It was all 14, 15 guys. And the reason I say that is because
I actually noticed he was driving a Lamborghini all of a sudden, so I was willing to listen. In my career, I've sold a little over $800 million in real estate. So honestly, I thought I kind of knew everything about marketing and homes. And then I met Clay, and my perception of what I knew and what I could do definitely changed. After doing $800 million in sales over a 15-year career, I really thought I knew what I was doing. I've been managing a large team of salespeople for the last 10 years here with Shaw Homes. And we've been a company that's been in business for 35 years. We've become one of the largest builders in the Tulsa area, and that was without Clay. So when I came to know Clay, I really thought, man, there's not much more I need to know, but I'm willing to listen. The interesting thing is our internet leads from our website has actually, in a 4-month period of time, has gone from somewhere around 10 to 15 leads in a month to 180 internet leads in a month. Just from the few things that he's shown us how to implement that I honestly probably never would have come up with on my own. So I got a lot of good things to say about the system that Clay put in place with us, and it's just been an incredible experience. I am very glad that we met and had the opportunity to work with Clay.
practice, the second unit, they would go at us so hard if we weren't ready to play that day. And I always said our second unit probably was a top 5 to 7 team in the NBA with Bobby Jackson and
So the interaction with the team and with Clay on a weekly basis is honestly very enlightening. One of the things that I love about Clay's perspective on things is that he doesn't come from my industry. He's not somebody who's in the home building industry. I've listened to all the experts in my field. Our company has paid for me to go to seminars, international builder shows, all kinds of places where I've had the opportunity to learn from the experts in my industry. But the thing that I found working with Clay is that he comes from such a broad spectrum of working with so many different types of businesses that he has a perspective that's difficult for me to gain because I get so entrenched in what I do, I'm not paying attention to what other leading industry experts are doing. And Clay really brings that perspective for me. It is very valuable time every week when I get that hour with him. From my perspective, the reason that any business owner who's thinking about hooking up with Thrive needs to definitely consider it is because the results that we've gotten in a very short period of time are honestly monumental. It has really exceeded my wildest expectation of what he might be able to do. I came in skeptical because I'm very pragmatic, and as I've gone through the process over just a few months, I've realized it's probably one of the best moves we've ever made. I think a lot of people probably feel like they don't need a business.
all the Gahito Turkaloo and Scott Pollard, and they had a really quality squad. They would beat us up, but it was
a marketing consultant because they maybe are a little bit prideful and like to think they know everything. I know that's how I felt coming in. I mean, we're a big company that's definitely one of the largest in town. And so we kind of felt like we knew what we were doing. And I think for a lot of people, they let their ego get in the way of listening to somebody that might have a better or different perspective than theirs. I would just really encourage you, if you're thinking about working with Clay, I mean, the thing is, it's month to month. Go give it a try and see what happens. I think in the 35-year history of Shaw Homes, this is probably the best thing that's happened to us. And I know if you give them a shot, I think you'll feel the same way. I know for me, the thing I would have missed out on if I didn't work with Clay is I would have missed out on literally an 1,800% increase in our internet leads. Going from 10 a month to 180 a month, that would have been a huge financial decision to just decide not to give it a shot. I would absolutely recommend Clay Clark to anybody who's thinking about working with somebody in marketing. I would skip over anybody else you were thinking about, and I would go straight to Clay and his team. I guarantee you're not going to regret it, because we sure haven't.
My name is Danielle Sprick, and I am the founder of D Sprick Realty Group here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. After being a stay-at-home mom for
13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrivetime Show.
When you say family and brotherhood, it was a healthy going at each other, not playing buddy ball and being friends. We love each other and love each other to this day. I work with Paige.
12 years, and my 3 kids started school and they were in school full time. I was at a crossroads and trying to decide what do I want to do? My degree and my background is in education, but after being a mom and staying home and all of that, I just didn't have a passion for it like I once did. My husband suggested real estate. He's a home builder, so real estate and home building go hand in hand, and we just rolled with it. I love people, I love working with people, I love building relationships. But one thing that was really difficult for me was the business side of things. The processes and the advertising and marketing. I knew that I did not have what I needed to make that what it should be. So I reached out to Clay at that time. And he and his team have been extremely instrumental in helping us build our brand, help market our business, our agents, the homes that we represent. Everything that we do is a direct line from Clay and his team and all that they've done for us. We launched our brokerage, our real estate brokerage, 8 months ago. And in that time, we've gone from myself and one other agent to just this week, we signed on our 16th agent. We have been blessed with the fact that we right now have just over 10 million in pending transactions. 3 years ago, I never would have even imagined that I would be in this role. That
of Lottie and Bobby every single day right now, and I see them, go hug them every day. But it was the ability to push one another and care for.
I'm in today, building a business, having 16 agents, but I have to give credit where credit's due. And Clay and his team and the business coaching that they've offered us has been huge. It's been instrumental in what we're doing. Don't ever limit your vision. When you dream big, big things happen.
I started a business because I couldn't work for anyone else. I do things my way. I do what I think is in the best interest of the patient. I don't answer to insurance companies. I don't answer to large corporate organizations. I answer to my patient, and that's it. My thought when I opened my clinic was I can do this all myself. I don't need additional outside help in many ways. I went to medical school, I can figure this out. But it was a very, very steep learning curve. Within the first 6 months of opening my clinic, I had a $63,000 embezzlement. I lost multiple employees. Clay helped us weather the storm of some of the things that are just a lot of people experience, especially in the medical world. He was instrumental in helping with the specific written business plan. He's been instrumental in hiring good quality employees, using the processes that he outlines for getting in good talent, which is extremely difficult. He helped me in securing the business loans. He helped me with web development and search engine optimization. We've been able to really keep a steady stream of clients coming in because they found us on the web. With everything that I encountered, everything that I experienced, I quickly learned it is worth every penny.
One another on a level that you normally don't see in athletics. And if you do see it, it's some of the really elite teams, because that is the special thing that can go through.
To have someone in your team that can walk you through and even avoid some of the pitfalls that are almost invariable in starting your own business. I'm Dr. Chad Edwards, and I own Revolution Health and Wellness Clinic.
Clay, my honor to be on your show. And thank you for all you do. I hear the ripple effects from you are good ripple effects. You know what I mean? People rave about what they learned from you. So congratulations.
We went from expecting maybe 250,000 this year to we're at 400,000. Hi, I'm Kelsey with K&D's Woodruff Finishing, business owner at 23. So I've been working this K&D's company for about 5 years now, and we started working with Thrive not too long ago. And we went from expecting maybe 250,000 this year to we're at 400,000. That's what we're going to hit or exceed. So we're pretty excited about that. It's been pretty much just listening to what they have to say. Their hiring process has just really been incredible as far as finding good quality help, and the just the accountability of meeting up with them weekly, and like such good insight, the resources that they have for specific business questions. It's all been really incredible. It's been a great experience, so I would recommend it to anybody.
What I've seen from Clay and his group at Thrive is they'll give you a simple system, and it's the simple systems are the ones that people can wrap their brain around. They're the ones that people can work with on a day-to-day basis.
A team and make you go to a different level.
I've certainly don't. I know you're a sports color commentator, so I'm not going to get you any hot water by.
Hi there, my name is Stephanie Pipkin. I am 24 years old and I own Black River Falls Cleaning Services. We opened in April of 2019 and it is now mid-June of 2020. So I wanted to talk today about the success and growth I have achieved by implementing the Proven Path with Clay Clark's team and and my business coach, Luke, from Thrivetime. It has been insane, to say the least. I started working with them in mid-February of this year, so we're about 4 months in of working together, and it has completely transformed my business in pretty much every facet. So I'm gonna check my notes here. So in 4 months, my leads have tripled. I was getting probably like 2 leads a week. Now I'm getting more in the like 10 to 15 leads a week. I have doubled my number of employees. I'm now hitting the highest revenue weeks in the history of the company, week to week, it seems like. We went from about 6 appointments today as our highest in February to now 14 to 15 appointments a day. And hiring quality employees has become much simpler and less stressful by using their systems for hiring. I typically only get maybe 2 complaints a month, if that, and everybody shows up to work. I just have really high quality employees now, especially in something people typically consider a high turnover type of work, you know, cleaning houses, cleaning businesses. I have amazing employees now, and I get rid of the ones who are
comparing this player versus that player. But I just want to ask you about your team there. There are guys in the NBA right now, and I'm sure we could all think of them, all the listeners out there, where you go, that guy is going to find a way to get 19 or 20.
Not so amazing, and bring on new ones because of, you know, group interviews and interviewing every single week. It's just been great, and such I don't waste as much time on low quality candidates anymore. And your coach will hold you accountable. I mean, which I love. Again, the tough love is really great. You know, Luke's like a stern father figure, but he's also nice, but also stern when he needs to be, when I'm being lazy and not doing the things that I know I need to do because I don't want to do them. So that's just great. Worth every penny. I mean, I'd pay him $1 million a month if I can, and maybe someday I'll be able to, but I would just say go for it. If it seems like a good fit, just go for it. Do what they say, even if you think it's stupid or ridiculous, just do what they say because it'll work. You know, people, when they look at my business, you know, people in my town, they think I'm lucky. They think I'm just, you know, things just happen for me. And, you know, maybe I am lucky, but it has a lot to do with hard work and, you know, perseverance and, you know, working till you cry sometimes. That's just being an entrepreneur, which if you're a business owner, you understand that. But it's having these systems in place of, you know, of course I'm going to be successful. It's an absolute because I have all this stuff in the background happening, and I have Luke and Clay and everybody on their team working really hard to make sure that I'm a success. And I can tell that they are just so excited every single week when I'm having all these wins and things like that. They're so excited for me. So it's the best thing ever, and I would suggest to anybody to work with them. So sorry.
7 points, no matter what he has to do. You know, you pass the ball to him, Doug. I'm sure you've seen this as a color commentator. And there's a guy, he's not passing the ball. He's not passing. He's going to dribble.
For the long-winded reply, but I just had so much to say, and I could go on for hours probably about how amazing they are. But thank you to Clay and Luke and the entire team there, everything you guys have done for me, and I am so excited to continue to work with you for years to come. Thanks so much for watching.
My saying is, if it's important to you, hire a coach. And I think that's one of the reasons people are not successful is they eat a cheeseburger instead of hiring a coach, you know what I mean? And so my coach pushes me. They're younger than me. They push harder. They're trained. And as my rich dad always said, you know, amateurs don't have a coach, but professionals always have coaches. So I've always had coaches for whatever is important. You know, my rich dad was one of those persons. You're on it, man. You're on it. You're on it. Everybody, listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. You have the macro picture. Very few people have that point of view.
Clay, you're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. And as they say in Stoic, the obstacle is the way. And so if you let these pinheads get in your way, you're in trouble.
He's going to wait till that shot clock gets down, and he's going to get his 22 points. And maybe the team is at the team's detriment. You know, it seemed like on the Kings, you guys would pass that ball, and whoever was closest to the basket, whoever had the best shot, got the shot. Can you talk about the unselfishness of the Chris Webber, Mike Bibby experience?
You know, and I attribute the unselfishness to Chris Webber because as a superstar and a Hall of Famer, hopefully, I don't know why he's not already.
Yeah.
He set the table for the ability, because if he would have been selfish, then it kind of permeates through the team. Well, with his unselfishness, it just.
3, 2, 1. Here we go.
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
It was something that just kind of went through the ball club, and all of a sudden the ball is moving around. And I heard Coach Popovich of the San Antonio Spurs say this: when a play is drawn up for a particular player, it's not for that player to score, it's for the team to score. And a lot of those mindsets we don't get credit for them because we didn't win a championship. But the point is, we kind of understood that ball would move around. The ball has energy. It would normally find the best player, but we all worked on our game. Everyone could pass, dribble, shoot, screen, all the different things. So it was a high level of trust. Now, I would also see Chris's face, and I'm like, okay, it's probably about time that he gets a shot because we've been shooting a little bit, so we make sure to give it the ball.
C-Webb, though, could have probably got 28, 29 points a game if he wanted to. Do you think he could have sat there and his whole career put up 27 a game, 28 a game?
Oh, absolutely. Easily. I mean, with us, he was 25, 27, a couple years, 22. But if you look at it, he would allow other people to contribute, which took the team to a higher level. Yeah, you're right. He could have probably taken an extra 8 to 10 shots a game. His average would have went up, but then the team average, his wins would have went down. And to his credit, I think that he recognized the team aspect coming from the Fab Five and all that he did. He brought that right to the NBA.
I'm from Minnesota. Watched a lot of Bobby Jackson. How good was he?
Yeah. Man, Bobby he's one of my favorites, man. And I say that because Bobby and I played one-on-one all the time before practice. Sometimes it got so physical where they had to send us home because we bumped heads and got cut. But we Yes, and yes. Thrive Nation, on today's show, we have the opportunity. We sharpened each other's skills, really. He learned how to play against a taller guard. I learned how to play against a smaller guard. But Bobby could have started for any other team in the NBA at point guard, and his unselfishness was the ability to say, you know what, I'm going to come off the bench. He was a sixth man of the year, but he made that second group so special because you got a starting quality guard that's coming off. I mean, he went to the Final Four, all the different things that he does. I give him a bunch of crap every day that I see him, but the point is I love him to death, and he's about as special as you get.
You know, with our podcast, the reason why I started this years ago is because my partner and I, we've been blessed to build 13 multi-million-dollar different businesses. And you know this because you're an entrepreneur. When you build a business, it takes 2 years, 3 years, 4, maybe 5, maybe 6 to get that traction. And then once the business gets up into orbit, it's more fun. I'd like to talk about your career as an announcer, as a broadcaster.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take you when you were calling the games to feel like you weren't bad? Because you sound great now. But I mean, how long did it take you for you to feel like, oh boy, I screwed that up? I mean, how long did it take for you to feel comfortable?
You know, interestingly enough, I don't listen to myself because I have a hard time doing it. So I'm a question asker. So I ask people because ultimately what I think doesn't matter. It's what the people think. So that's what I do. I ask, what you think? How do I do this? This all started with me coming to do a camp for the Kings in Golden One, which is the Golden One Center now. And after I did the camp, they liked it. They took me into the office. We started talking about
to interview the former NBA basketball star and the current color commentator for the Sacramento Kings, Mr. Doug Christie. Welcome.
Old times, I didn't really realize it was an interview, and they called me. I was living in Los Angeles and said, would you like to do pre and post on the radio? So I do pre and post on the radio from my son's closet. I had my physio ball. I'd sit there, watch the game, then I'd go before the game at halftime and afterwards, and I would just give my analysis. That worked out pretty good. I go to pre and post television because Bobby took a few games off. They liked me. Yeah. And before you know it, they have me start doing color, and here I am. It's kind of been a really fast thing. The feedback has been fantastic. And so for me, I have a hard time. I don't have a hard time watching myself when I play, but I have a hard time listening to myself. I don't know why.
Well, Doug, I tell you what, I think they're just using you for your good looks, my friend, because you got a great broadcaster voice. But so they're using the good looks. Now, tell us about your product, the R3 bar. What's the R3 bar? How can it help our listeners out there?
Man, the rebar is, first of all, there's four of my partners, and one of his name is Tim Manson. He was my trainer when I was in the NBA. The best trainer in the world. Look him up. Man, I just can't even say enough. So Tim creates the rebar. We help and we put it out to market. And the rebar works on all the intrinsic muscles. Most of the time when you train stability, what do you train? You train the big muscles, the ones that you see in the mirror. This one trains all the small muscles, works on movement dysfunction and all those types of things. So we're talking stability, flexibility, and it can train strength at the same time. But there's a trilogy because we have a reband system that are rubber bands that